Hey everybody, Mr. Odom here, and I am going to talk to you today about integers and absolute value. So those might be some new terms. Maybe you've heard of these things before, what integers are and what absolute value is. But if you haven't, then I am going to go over what those things are and how we use them. So as always, you'll need a pencil, composition book, or notebook paper to take notes, and you should be taking notes while you're watching this video. You can always watch it again, but you should be taking notes in a composition book. It helps get this information to kind of stick in your brain, hopefully into your long-term memory. That's our goal, is to get this information into your long-term memory. So the learning targets for this video are, at the end of this, hopefully you can say, I can define the absolute value of a number. The numbers we're going to talk about today are integers. And you can find the absolute values of numbers. Okay, so first of all, what are integers? So the definition is right here. The integers are the set of numbers that include the whole numbers. Do you remember what the whole numbers are? Can you define the whole numbers for me? Very good. So the whole numbers start with 0, and then we just count 1, 2, 3, 4. This gets boring. And it goes on forever. Okay? So that is the set of whole numbers. So when we're talking about integers, integers include all the whole numbers and their opposites. So what do you think an opposite of a number is? Okay, so I will explain it to you using a number line. So if I put 0 in my number line, and I put, let's say, the integer 2 right here. The opposite of 2, I basically think of 0 as being a mirror. So 2, I'm looking at the mirror, and I see myself in the mirror. And where do I see myself at? I see myself here at -2. Okay, so the opposite of 2 is -2. What would be the opposite of, let's say, I'm out here, let's say this is -5. What would be the opposite of -5? Okay, very good. The opposite of -5 would be +5. All right, so the integers are the set of numbers that include the whole numbers. So I can actually write this set down. I can include the whole numbers, which we did above. We know what those are, dot, dot, dot. And I include all their opposites. So every integer that I write down has an, I'm sorry, every whole number I write down has an opposite, right? -1, -2, and so on, okay? So the whole numbers and the opposites, that is our set of integers. Did I spell it right? I did. Okay, so let's move on to, now that we have that information, let's look at what we mean by absolute value. So the absolute value of an integer is the distance. It is the distance between the number we're talking about and 0 on a number line. And we write it a certain way. So if we're looking for the absolute value of a number, let's say the number is a. I'm thinking algebraically, so a is a variable. It could be whatever I want. We write it like this. So if I want to know what the absolute value of -4 is, well, it's a distance. How far away is -4 from 0? I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So that's why we write 4 units. The absolute value of 4 equals 4. That means that the number 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away from 0. Okay, so absolute value is a distance. So remember, distance is always positive. All right, so that's absolute value. Let's look at some examples. So I'm going to do a couple of these problems. I'm going to leave the other problems for you and to try on your own. So one of the things I want you to remember, so a number line can be used to what? It can be used to compare and order integers. So I can compare integers. Which one's bigger? Which one's smaller? Are they equal? Also remember, numbers to the left are always less than numbers to the right on a number line, and we'll see this in our examples. Also, numbers to the right are always greater than numbers to the left, and that kind of makes sense when we think about how numbers are placed on a number line. So with that information, let's look at a problem here. Let's find the absolute value of 7. So the absolute value of 7 means I need to figure out how far away is the number 7 from 0. So I can come down here in my number line. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's right here. How far away from 0 is the number 7? Well, I just have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. So the absolute value of 7 equals 7. All right, what about problem number 2? What is the absolute value of negative 1? Well, let me put 0. Here's negative 1 right here, and you can quickly see how far apart are they. They are 1 unit apart. That's the distance. That's how far apart they are. So the absolute value of negative 1 equals 0. All right, so for you guys, I want you to work out problems 3 and 4. And tell me what you get. So the absolute value of negative 5, hopefully you work this out, you get 5. And the absolute value of 14 equals 14. All right, very good. Let's look at these next few problems. Now we're going to compare. This is where we are going to be comparing or compare values. Some of them are absolute values, some of them are integers. We're going to compare. So for number 5, I'll put it right here. I want to compare the absolute value of negative 2 to negative 1. And remember these symbols. What do those symbols mean? Well, this one means less than. I can't spell. Less than. So that means this symbol means greater than. So we have less than and greater than. Okay, so that's what these symbols mean, and we want to pick the right symbol to put in this orange box. So down here, let me just go ahead and figure out what is the absolute value of negative 2. Here's 0, so it is 1, 2, right there. So that's 2, but it also represents the absolute value of negative 2. And then negative 1 is just right here. Okay, so absolute value of negative 2 is 2, and that's greater than negative 1. So I put a greater than symbol there. All right, number 6. I'm comparing -7 to the absolute value of 6. Well, what is the absolute value of 6? Very good. The absolute value of 6 is 6. So I can go ahead and plot these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 right there. And then -7, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7 will be over here. And it's pretty easy to see that 6 is greater than -7. And 6 also is representing the absolute value of 6. Okay, so the symbol that I put here will be less than. Okay, so you can stop the video right now, and I want you to work out problems 7 and 8 in your composition books, and then come back. All right, so if you have worked these problems out in your composition book, you would find that the absolute value of 10 is just 10, and so on a number line, the number 10 is less than 11. So that means the absolute value of 10 is less than 11. Here, 9 and the absolute value of -9. I know the absolute value of -9 is 9. And so these would be equal. All right, so hopefully you got those correct. So hopefully this video was helpful. I'm going to ask you guys to give me some feedback on that here with this last part of the video. So please be honest, be brutal. Let me know if this was helpful or not. And if it's not helpful, tell me how I can make it better. All right, so this is Mr. Odom. I'm out for today. I hope you have a great day. Bye.